XS, Extraordinary Superior Gundam. Hey, how you doing everybody? This is Robert184 from gundam.tk, and this is part 3 of my look at the Master Grade XS Gundam. Don't forget to check out part 1 for all the plates and details, and part 2 to see all the parts, albeit it was already assembled, but now we'll finally get to see how the XS Gundam stacks up. So without further ado, you can get an idea of just how big this Master Grade XS Gundam is as it comes spinning around here. But I have to say that my first impressions are very, very positive about this in terms of A, the colors, but also just in terms of the way they're spread out, and also just the sheer bulk of this thing and how many weapons it has and how they stick out all over the place. But still how it just adds to that sense of power that this mobile suit was designed to have. Here's a non-moving shot of the front, and again you can notice that there's a lot of different things you can do. You can move the wing units around, of course the propellant tanks you can move around all over the place, so you can end up with a few different kind of looks there, but overall it's still going to come across, no matter what you do, as being incredibly wide. But I have to say again that posability here is going to be a bit of a joke, because if you take a look at the top of the shoulders here, what can you do with these arms? Well, you can bring them forward about this much, and you can pivot them, well, really nowhere, because the wing units are going to get in the way of the booster unit on the back, and the propellant tanks are not going to allow you to do too much. So pretty much, I would say that you're going to be limited to what you can do with the elbow and wrist. And the legs, though, again, you can bring them forward because of the lack of a skirt. Really, the giant knees here are going to get in the way, unless you bend them all the way up like that. But why you would want to have the XS doing that kind of kick, I don't know, and they're not going to go off to the side. So again, what you're seeing here is that the posability is going to be primarily consisting of him just standing there. So because he's on the base here, I'm going to cheat for the size comparison and bring the other Gundams up to his height. So he's got flat feet now, and that just lines up here. So on the right we have Master Grade Exia, and you really do get a sense of just how oversized this XS Gundam is. And of course a lot of that has to do with the propellant tanks, but even if you took that off, this Master Grade Exia is still going to look significantly smaller. Now both of these Gundams came from serialized pros, the difference being that Unicorn also got anime, which means he's now promoted to full lead Gundam. But of course the Unicorn Gundam in its destroy mode is incredibly tall, and you can see that it's almost, depending on whether you want to count the top of the head or the top of the Unicorn or the V-fin here, the Unicorn Gundam with these counted is about the same height, but that's of course excluding the beam cannons and the wing units, etc. back there. So the XS is really tall in addition to being wide. And here's the original granddaddy, or the Amuro RX-78-2, and I don't know if I should be lining him up here with the toes or sort of back here with the rest of the body, but again, that XS is just huge. I don't know how many times I can go about saying that. And finally, it always feels like I'm bullying when I do this, but here we have the 1/200th speed grade Victory Gundam beside the XS Gundam. So of course, if this was a Master Grade 1/100th, it would probably be about 2 times the size of this guy. I'm joking. In terms of posing with weapons, it's not as horrible as I probably made out a little bit earlier. You can move the legs and you can twist them around fairly well. You're able to bring the arm up here at the elbow, but again you're going to have issues dealing with the propellant tank, and you can get the other arm to go back and hold out what looks like a very small beam saber actually compared to the rest. But you can still have what I would consider to be a pretty decent looking pose, and of course I didn't come up with this myself. I'm just copying it from the instruction manual. But the XS's signature weapon, of course, is the Beam Smart Gun, and you can see that it has a mount mechanism here on the extra waist armor, which is unique to the XS Gundam, and we're just going to plug that into here. So here it is attached on, and just laying across the chest there with both hands on the top, which is not usually a very practical pose, but in this case, because it's got the attachment there, it actually sort of works and can look pretty cool. Please remember that the instruction manual considers this to be an action pose, so if that's an action pose, what is an inaction pose? But in terms of other action poses, you are able to swing the beam smart gun around in a variety of positions, which means that you can almost get the hand to go around it and around the trigger, and you can if you do set it up just right. But this kind of effect can give you the idea that this Gundam can actually attack and not just sit there looking like the proverbial brick that I mentioned so much. And I could have done this during the size comparisons as well, but you can also bring out this part forward, which gives it an even more dynamic kind of attack. Bit of a time skip here, which I'll explain in the next video, but there's two big changes. One, he's got some decals on, which makes him look a lot better and much more similar to what you see on the cover of Gundam Sentinel. And here, you're going to notice too that he's standing up without being propped up by that giant base, which is not necessarily that good for the long run. And that's because it's just propped up on whatever you want to call the front of the G-Cruiser, where it's just got this tiny little thing that's already starting to warp under the weight there. But anyway, if you can get replacement parts, it's not a bad option. But then again, if you've got an ugly display like this, it might look okay on a wood shelf. But if you had some plastic or some clear glass or something like that and you had it at just the right height, it is an option for getting this to be on display at an equal height, or at least equal level with your other Gundams. And if you're a fan of ridiculous poses, yes, if you twist the legs out at an incredibly awkward angle and you don't cough or sneeze, because then he's going to go toppling over, you can have him standing up without the base and without being propped up from the back. You may have already seen on dalong.net that he's got pictures like this, so you can do it, but it's just not going to be very pleasing aesthetically. So I'm going to wrap up my review of the mobile suit mode here, but stay tuned for the next part where I take a look at the transformation, which is going to be pretty complex, it looks like. But anyway, as always, Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, gundam.tk. Always love to hear from you. If you put a comment down below, and if you do like the vid, please let me know by hitting like and subscribe if you don't want to miss any other reviews and news. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Before he goes toppling over, I'm going to wrap up my review here of the mobile suit mode.